Amazing 7-year disappearance of a single mom revealed. Only your blood can save his life. Sarah's heart raced as she looked at the small stack of bills on her kitchen table. The rent was due, and there was no sign of relief in sight. Each invoice sat like a noose, tightening around her mind. Yet she forced a smile for her son, Jake, busy with his crayons. As he giggled, colorful lines splayed across the page. She felt the weight of the world pressing down on her, the jobs she juggled, the smiles she forged, the facade of strength. What they didn't see was her struggle, the late nights spent worrying would this be the week she couldn't put food on the table. Jake coughed in the next room, a dry rasp that sent icy tendrils of fear through her. The doctor's visits were piling up, and each copay was a gamble, a devil-esque deal with dwindling funds. A mother's worst nightmare, finding out how hard it was to keep a child healthy while barely keeping herself afloat. Maybe if she worked more shifts at the diner, or picked up another cleaning job, but would it ever be enough? As exhaustion settled over her like a heavy blanket, the whispered judgments from neighbors began creeping into her mind. An unfit mother? She clenched her jaw, refusing to let doubt claw at her resolve. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Days passed, and the cough grew worse. The community's whispers were like a fog closing in around her. Did you see Sarah? She can't handle it. Their pity cut deeper than any knife. Jake was losing weight and energy. Each time she walked past the pediatrician's office, a knot twisted tighter in her stomach. It wasn't just about health anymore. It was survival. She had considered sacrificing her anonymity, turning to side jobs that felt like a walk into the unknown. Desperation pushed her toward decisions she never thought she'd entertain. Then came the day she disappeared. A collective gasp echoed through the town as her day-to-day presence vanished, her silence engulfing them. Meanwhile, Tom stared at the empty house, memories of childhood playing out with equal parts worry and frustration. Sarah was like a sister to him, and he couldn't understand how a single mom could slip through the cracks. The townsfolk turned their backs, an opportunity for judgment in disguise, and all he could do was feel the weight of the world on his shoulders. Tom pulled out his phone, the screen lighting up his determined face. He wouldn't stand by. He wouldn't allow her pain to go unnoticed. With each step into the shadows of Sarah's life, questions loomed larger than answers. Was she really the woman he had idolized, or had she succumbed to the depths of despair, clinging to fragments of her dignity? In that dilapidated motel, where the flickering neon sign hinted at her presence, he knocked, anticipation mingling with dread. Only your blood can save his life. The words echoed, shrouded in mystery and danger. A chilling realization washed over him. What if the cost of saving Jake meant confronting an ugly truth about family ties he had never known existed? He hesitated, but resolve built within him. This was his moment to decide to see beyond the whispers and stand for the love they once shared. Would he risk everything for a woman he knew so well yet so little of now? He raised his hand to knock, teetering on the cliff of revelation. Tom's knuckles struck the door, and a resounding silence swallowed the sound. Anxiety gripped him as he waited, caught between hope and trepidation. Each second stretched like a taut wire. It was as if the world had paused, anxious for the revelation on the other side. When the door creaked open, Tom was met by the faint glow of a single lamp. The room smelled faintly of disinfectant, a scent that lingered in places of desperation. There she stood, Sarah, disheveled yet unmistakably her. Framed in that doorway, she looked like a ghost of the vibrant woman he once knew, her face lined with worry and fatigue, and an unmistakable weight of sacrifice carved deep in her eyes. "Tom," she rasped, a blend of surprise and wariness coloring her voice. Just uttering his name seemed to ignite something in her. Was it the joy of a long-lost friend, or the fear of needing help? Sarah, he stumbled over his words. What did he want to say? That he had missed her? That he recognized the signs of someone on the brink? Instead, the truth spilled out, unrefined but raw. I came to find you. They're worried about you. I'm worried about you. Her gaze shifted to the ground before she stepped back, allowing him to enter. Inside, the small room felt confining. The walls bore witness to her shadows, holding stories she may never tell. Jake needs you, Sarah, he pressed, searching her eyes for a flicker of the fire that once danced there. He needs you to fight. You can't just hide. I'm fighting, she said defensively. Every day for him. You don't understand what it's like cornered like a rat. The bitter edge in her tone stung, but beneath it, he sensed her fear piling up like the unpaid bills. Then let us find a way out. The urgency in his voice echoed the growing resolve within him. He could feel the stakes rising. It wasn't about saving her anymore, it was about Jake's future. You can't do this alone. Let me help. For a fraction of a moment, vulnerability flickered across her face. Could it be that Sarah, the strong-willed woman he had always admired, was asking for help? But doubt quickly reignited the defiance, as if she was shunning the very notion of reliance. What can you do? She challenged, folding her arms defensively. Her expression was defiant, wary like a wild animal caught in a trap. I can start by being here, he offered. I can listen. We can brainstorm. We can find resources to get you back on your feet. It doesn't have to be this way. I don't know if I can do it. The softness in her voice betrayed her strength. For the first time since he walked in, her resolve cracked, the mask of toughness shattering momentarily to reveal the fear bubbling beneath. You can, he countered gently, stepping closer. Let's find that spark again, the one you had when we were kids. If anyone can figure this out, it's you. As the words hung in the air, a tumult of emotions flashed across her face. Despair, hope, fear. She took a shaky breath. It was clear to Tom that they were at a crossroads. Could she trust him enough to expose her vulnerabilities? Would she allow herself to embrace the possibility of success, however slim? Only your blood can save his life, he echoed quietly, emphasizing the stakes. This wasn't merely about pride or reputation. It was about Jake's survival, and she needed to confront the truth head-on. Tom stood poised, waiting for her response, knowing that this moment could tip the scale toward despair or renewal. As Sarah grappled with the decision, he recognized that this was not just a physical battle but an emotional war. As she began, hesitating, and Tom felt the energy shift. Would she allow herself to embrace help? Or would she retreat back into the shadows from which she had just emerged? In that instant, he realized the magnitude of her choice, and Tom's determination solidified. He had to prepare for whatever was coming, the unraveling truth or the dawn of a new beginning. He took a step back, forcing his heart to settle as the weight of hesitation grew heavier. The real question loomed: if she didn't find her way back, would he be prepared to confront the deeper family ties that haunted them all? Tom watched Sarah's hesitation stretch out before them, an ever-thickening fog of uncertainty. Her struggle was palpable, her inner turmoil echoing silently in the confined space of the room. A part of him yearned to bridge the distance, to extend both his hand and heart, but he sensed that pressing too hard might only lead her deeper into resistance. It was a delicate balance, one he had to navigate with utmost care. Listen, he began, searching for a path through the maze of her fears. This isn't just about you or Jake anymore. It's bigger than that. If you stand still, you're risking everything. She grimaced, her eyes narrowing slightly, and he could see the front lines of her battleground. He felt both an urge to retreat and an even stronger compulsion to push forward. He couldn't back down now. He had invested too much in this moment. Tell me what you need. I'm not leaving until we figure this out. The gravity of his words weighed heavily in the air. Tom needed her to see beyond her fears. There's nothing left, she whispered, shame etching her voice. No resources, no time. I feel so lost. The defeat in her statement hit harder than any physical blow. Tom recognized this as more than just an admission of despair. It revealed the state of her mind after years of pressure. Maybe you just need to see things differently. He kept his voice steady, fighting to maintain an atmosphere where hope could blossom. You can't do this alone, and it doesn't have to be a solo fight. She shifted, taking in his words. That glimmer of vulnerability flickered again, but doubt quickly seemed to rise. And what if I can't? What if there's just no way out? Then we'll make a way out, he replied, letting the edge of his determination sharpen their exchange. I faced my demons. I know how to fight. I'm here to show you how to unearth your strength again. This wasn't just about Jake. It was about her reclaiming the very spirit he admired. Her eyes searched his, weighing his sincerity against her world of disillusionment. It was time for truth. Remember when we were kids? You helped me through the hardest days. I thought you were invincible. I wasn't invincible, Sarah. I was just someone who wasn't afraid to admit when I was scared. Their eyes locked, and he summoned every ounce of authenticity he had. I can help you find your own way, but you have to meet me halfway. No more hiding. No more cornering yourself. He watched her grapple with the self-imposed barriers that kept her shackled. There was an undeniable power in vulnerability, a power he had yet to discover within himself until this moment. I didn't realize how much I needed this conversation, she finally confessed, her shoulders relaxing just a fraction. After all these years, you're still capable of great things, he assured her, his voice steady with the weight of his plea. You just have to believe it. As Tom spoke, he felt pieces of himself clicking into place. This wasn't merely about helping Sarah anymore. It was an awakening of his own sense of purpose, which had long laid dormant since his own struggles began. By reaching out, perhaps he could finally grasp the growth he had overlooked in pursuit of mundane survival. I go to the clinic tomorrow. For Jake, the quiet admission spilled from her lips, tentative and fragile. Whatever happens, I'll be there, he promised, a newfound resolve solidifying in his chest. This is the beginning, Sarah. We can build from it. But just as they began to lean into the possibility of a shared resurgence, a knock interrupted their fragile moment, snap-frozen in midair. Tom's gut twisted as dread washed over him. Who could possibly be at the door now? As Sarah's expression flickered from hope to stark fear, Tom envisioned the incoming storm. He had prepared for her vulnerabilities, but what about the realities lurking outside? Was he ready to face not just her demons but his own? Would this newly reignited bond withstand the external pressures encroaching upon them? He steeled himself for whatever lay behind that door, understanding that this moment would either reinforce their tentative alliance or fracture it irreparably. The real struggle was only just beginning. Tom's heart raced as he stepped toward the door. Each step felt like a mile, fraught with the weight of uncertainty. The knock reverberated in the air, a reminder that their moment of connection was precariously perched at the edge of disruption. Who is it? Sarah's voice had dropped an octave, a tightness creeping in that betrayed her fear. I don't know yet, he replied, his voice steady but his mind reeling. He took a deep breath, pulling in the strength Sarah had begun to rediscover within herself. With a deliberate motion, he opened the door. It yielded to reveal a figure he hadn't anticipated. A man in a dark jacket, his expression unreadable, shadows playing across his face in the dim hallway light. Tom? The stranger's voice was familiar yet foreign, sending a jolt of recognition through his chest. Max, an old friend from his past, someone he had believed to be long gone from his life. The years had weathered Max but could not erase the bond that once tied them. What are you doing here? I came to find you. The gravity in Max's voice mirrored Tom's own tumultuous thoughts. It's important. We need to talk. Tom glanced back at Sarah, her expression a mixture of confusion and worry. This was not what either of them needed right now. Can it wait? It can't, Max said, his words cutting through the air with unintimidated force. It's about Jake. A chill enveloped the room, tightening around Tom's chest. Everything had shifted in an instant. The precious moment of vulnerability he shared with Sarah now felt fragile, hanging in the balance. What do you mean? I can explain everything, But we need to move. The urgency in Max's tone bristled with a familiar intensity, stirring memories of a life Tom had attempted to escape. Without hesitating, he turned back to Sarah. "I'll be right back." "No," she said forcefully, a wall springing up amidst the haze of uncertainty that had settled over them. "If it's about Jake, I need to hear this too." Tom felt the resistance radiating off her. In that moment, a sense of betrayal flushed his defenses. "Sarah, this is complicated. Complicated or not, I deserve to know," she shot back, and for a fleeting second, the strength in her gaze rekindled his admiration, pulling them back into the purpose they had started to establish. "Fine," he relented, stepping aside, motioning for Max to enter. It was a choice that felt heavy yet necessary, asserting her presence while inviting unforeseen turmoil back into their lives. As the door clicked shut behind them, a palpable tension enveloped the room. Tom felt a swirl of unresolved conflict rising within. The uncertainty was mounting, like the storm clouds outside brewing for a downpour. Max wasted no time. "The people looking for you, they've found Jake. They want him. Their demands went higher than I expected." Tom's mind raced. The dark memories from his youth came crashing back, the undercurrent of danger and betrayal re-emerging. "What do you mean their demands? Your past, it's closing in on you, Tom," Max replied, his voice unwavering. "You cannot afford to ignore it. We need to work together to protect him." As Max's words sunk in, Tom's thoughts spiraled, grappling with the intertwining threads of loyalty and fear. Would stepping back into this world mean relinquishing the progress he had made in supporting Sarah? "No," he breathed, conviction flaring within him. "I am not going back to that life. Not now, not ever." The resolve cut through the doubt, reshaping his determination. He had ventured so far, yet here was Max challenging everything he thought he had created. "Tom, you're being naive. This is about survival." Max's eyes were serious, piercing. But Tom felt a growing strength solidifying within him, ignited by his commitment to Sarah and Jake. Survival is more than just escaping. It's about claiming your power and making choices that define who you are. The words poured out, fueled by a newfound fire. Max regarded him with tempered surprise. "So this is where you draw the line." Tom faced Sarah, their eyes locking in a moment of unspoken understanding. "Yes, rebuilding something genuine here. I will not let the darkness of my past extinguish that." The tension thickened, an electric charge stirring the air, as they all stood teetering on the brink of decisions that could reshape everything. Would Tom stand his ground, or would he allow the shadows of his past to dictate their futures? In a single moment, Tom realized that the heart of his struggle would not be the perilous road ahead, but in the choices he would make to shape his new reality. As those thoughts ricocheted through his mind, a revelation surged in him. This was not merely about confronting the past, but embracing an uncharted future. And suddenly, that doorway stood before him again. But this time it symbolized a choice. Pursue the path of fear or fight for what mattered most. The moment settled, heavy and charged, unraveling infinite possibilities. The decision loomed near, but the next step forward was bathed in raw uncertainty. Would Tom's commitment to Sarah withstand the burgeoning tempest ahead, or would he lose everything he had just begun to reclaim? The door stood between past and future, and the true conflict of his journey was about to begin. Tom's breath felt shallow, a tight coil of worry binding him at the center of Max's startling revelations. The weight of responsibility pressed down, demanding he respond immediately. He had fought for his present life with Sarah, a fragile piece they had forged together, but now shadows from his past threatened to pull him back into the abyss he had tried so desperately to escape. "Why now?" His voice came out rasping, laced with incredulity. "After all these years, why return with this? Why not warn me sooner?" Max stepped closer, the gravity of the situation evident in his furrowed brow. "I didn't know how deep the rabbit hole went until recently. They found Jake because they're using him as leverage against you." Tom felt the air leave his lungs, each word reverberating with a gnawing fear. Jake, Sarah's son. The innocent boy wrapped in a web of threats he had barely understood. The urgency of the situation sharpened Tom's thoughts. He had to protect them, the family he had chosen, but the prospect of confronting his past left a bitterness crawling through his veins. What do they want? I have nothing to offer them, he said, desperation slipping through the cracks of his resolve. Max's eyes narrowed, the shadows deepening as he spoke. They want information about your past dealings, Tom. The people you thought you could leave behind, they have a way of tracking you. You were too important to them to just disappear. A flicker of rage ignited within him, forcing Tom into action. Was he always going to be a pawn in someone else's game? He could feel Sarah's presence behind him, her heartbeat echoing a rhythm of shared tension and anxiety. The stakes had escalated beyond what he had anticipated. Max, if they found Jake, we need a plan. We can't let them get to him. This was no longer just about him, it was about protecting those who depended on him. Then we need to get out of here, Max said, urgency creeping into his tone. They'll come for you first. Their focus will turn to Sarah and Jake. We don't have time to waste. Tom turned to look at Sarah, who stood rooted in place, her expression mirroring a cocktail of anxiety and strong determination. The flicker of unpreparedness crossed her features, yet there was a glint of courage simmering underneath. We can't run, Max, Sarah interjected, surprisingly steady. We face them together. I refuse to live in fear. If it means confronting your past, then that's what we will do. Her words struck him like a lightning bolt, igniting an unexpected shift within. It dawned on him that they were a team, that he'd been so focused on protecting her that he hadn't considered her strength. Could he really allow the ghosts of his past to dictate her reality? Sarah, it's dangerous, Tom whispered, desperate to shield her from the consequences of his past. I'm not asking you to shield me, she said firmly, stepping closer, her determination unwavering. I'm in this with you. We'll figure it out together. The harmony of her resolve wrapped around him like a shield, emboldening him against his own uncertainties. This choice wasn't just about courage. It was about trust, commitment, and building a future forged by facing fears instead of succumbing to them. Then we confront them, Tom declared, feeling a newfound determination take root within him. But we do it my way. We will gather what we need, find our footing, and take the fight to them. I won't let them dictate our terms anymore. Max nodded, a flicker of approval breaking across his features. That's the spirit. But we can't be reckless. We need a strategy. Start tracking their movements and collecting intel. We can use your old connections to our advantage. As Tom contemplated their next steps, the mental gears clicked into place, giving him clarity amidst the chaos. He could access hidden resources he had thought lay dormant, allies from his past who still owed him favors, and maybe even leverage he hadn't known he still possessed. Let us set a plan, he said, formulating ideas as they spoke. Each one took shape in his mind, a smooth river of possibilities. He was regaining control over the narrative of his life, reclaiming what had once belonged to him. However, just as he began to chart a course forward, a sharp knock resounded on the door, the sound slicing through their newfound resolve like a knife. The sense of impending confrontation loomed over them. What if it's them? Sarah's voice trembled, eyes widening with dread. Tom glanced at Max, who held his gaze steady, the decision palpable between them. The next choice would demand everything of him, a decisive moment that could alter the course of their fate. We're not turning back now, he whispered, resolute. As the knock sounded again, louder this time, Tom steeled himself. The door served as their final barrier, a threshold to the storm waiting beyond it. Would they face it together, or would fear drive them apart? The answer lay in the choice they would soon have to make. Tom's heart raced as another knock echoed against the door, reverberating through his mind like a relentless drumbeat. Each thud was a raw reminder that time was running out. He glanced at Sarah, who stood near him and emitted a blend of fear and unwavering determination that unnerved him. Did she truly understand the magnitude of what could lie on the other side? What do we do? She asked, her voice steady despite the turmoil around them. It was a pivotal moment that demanded immediate action. Tom took a deep breath, his thoughts racing. The door could either usher in the horror of his past or serve as a crucible for their shared resolve. He focused on the latter, the thought channeling his fear into action. We prepare ourselves for anything. No more running. We fight. Max, attuned to the urgency, immediately began collecting anything that could serve as a weapon. Tom grabbed a heavy lamp from the nearby table, its weight reassuring as he gripped it tightly. The ordinary became extraordinary in these moments, as household items transformed into tools of defense in the face of looming chaos. "Stay behind me," Tom instructed Sarah, his voice dropping to a protective timbre. He was unaccustomed to this sense of agency but knew he wouldn't allow fear to paralyze him or those he cared about. Tom's mind raced through scenarios of what lay ahead. Would it be former associates from his past, faces marked by betrayal? Or perhaps agents sent to enforce a heavy-handed ultimatum? No matter who it was, there would be no backing down. As the knock resounded once again, he stepped forward, looking through the peephole. Anxiety gripped him as he squinted to identify whoever stood on the other side. But the sight offered no solace. Two shadows hovered, their features obscured by the dim light outside. "Tom, they might get impatient," Max warned, his words barely a whisper amidst the tension flooding the room. Impatience could lead to reckless decisions, Tom muttered, contemplating the importance of this moment. He knew he had a choice. Once the door opened, their circumstances would shift. He would have to confront the ghosts of his past head-on, embracing the shadows they cast over his present. "Last chance to change your mind," Sarah murmured, glancing at him, her expression a mix of concern and resolute faith. It was a moment of truth, a fork in the road laden with potential consequences he could not ignore. "No," he replied quietly, the weight of that single word carrying a finality that filled the room. With a deep breath, Tom unlocked the door, turning the handle with a steady hand. The metal felt utterly cold against his palm, contrasting the warmth of the chaotic energy swelling inside him. He pushed it open, bracing himself for confrontation as the door creaked open. Silence filled the air, only to be broken by a voice gravelly and menacing. "Tom, I senti it? We've been looking for you." Tom's pulse quickened, the sheer calmness behind those words an unsettling warning. Betrayal hung thick in the air, mingling with the resolve of standing his ground. "Why don't you let us inside?" The voice continued, almost condescending. "We have some things to discuss concerning Jake." That name cracked through Tom's defenses, exposing the vulnerability he dared not reveal. The mere mention of Jake catalyzed a torrent of protective instincts and endless anger. Tom could feel the fire within him ignite anew, ready to burn through whatever obstacle stood in their path. He faced the intruders, heart racing, ready for whatever was to come. The stakes had transformed profoundly. No longer would he remain a passive character in a fear-based script. Today marked a turning point, a resonance of choices echoing through his very being. "Let us talk," Tom replied, steeling himself, an electric resolve coursing through him. But as he stepped into the confrontation, a chilling realization coursed through him. This meeting could either seal their fate or shatter the walls of his obscured past once and for all. The moment had arrived to face not just the shadows, but the darkness embedded within them. The time had come to confront everything he had tried to outrun. With a glance back at Sarah and Max, he felt fortified by their presence, ready to transform confrontation into empowerment. But then, an unexpected interruption stole Tom's focus. A piercing screech echoed outside, drawing their attention. The reality of the situation twisted, opening doors Tom didn't foresee. He couldn't shake the feeling that this was merely the beginning of a much deeper confrontation than he had imagined. What else awaited them beyond the storm? Tom's focus snapped back to the door, the echo of that screech saturating the air with urgency. Adrenaline surged, colors sharper, sounds more pronounced. The men outside shifted, their familiar intimidation now mingled with a hint of uncertainty, eyes darting toward the source of the noise. "Did you hear that?" one of them asked, tone laced with annoyance. "What's going on outside?" "Maybe it's just a cat," the second shrugged, though his voice faltered, betraying doubt. Tom seized the moment. You need to leave. If you came here for a conversation, we can discuss it without you stepping over the threshold. The older man smirked, but it didn't quite reach his eyes. You think we're here to chat, Tom? You and your friends are in way over your heads. Every heartbeat reverberated as Tom considered their options. What if Jake were truly in danger? Could he afford to see this as just a storm of words? Thoughts ricocheted within him, churning curiosity with dread. It was impossible to ignore that they had awakened something much darker than mere confrontation. Suddenly, Sarah's voice broke through the haze. We need to check on whatever that was. No, Tom countered, instinctively protective. Don't even think about it. We have to stay together. But the look on her face told him she was already resolved. Almost as if she had been waiting for this moment to break free from the shadows that had clung to her since his past first loomed over them. My brother is involved, Tom. I can't just sit and wait like a victim. She pressed, eyes fierce, voice steady. Not a victim, he corrected, silently recognizing the fissures in his own perception. No longer just a passive player, she challenged the notion of fear as escapable. Tom hesitated, wrestling with the conflicting instincts, a desire to protect versus an instinctive need to trust. Perhaps burying these feelings held more danger than confronting the storm. Let us go, he finally said, each word a promise that they would face this together, not just as a reaction to their circumstances but as active participants in their fate. As Tom moved to push the door wider, the creak of old hinges seemed to amplify his resolve. He stepped outside, with Sarah and Max flanking him like sentinels ready to protect their newfound legacy. The chilling air washed over them, a stark contrast to the clenching heat inside. Before them, chaos unfurled. A small crowd had gathered, eyes wide and expressions contorted with curiosity and concern. Some were whispering, others looked in alarm at the two men Tom had just confronted. What are you doing out here? Tom shouted, but the question hung unanswered as another shriek pierced the night. It came again, sharper, more desperate. Bounding toward the source, Tom felt urgency clawing at his insides. With instinct guiding him, he darted past onlookers who fell silent as he plunged deeper into the unknown. In their haste not to be left behind, Sarah and Max followed closely. Emerging into an open alleyway, they found an overturned vehicle, an explosion of shattered glass illuminating the dark. A figure stumbled from the wreckage, bloodied and fraught, a reflection of the very turmoil that had shadowed Tom for too long. Jake, he breathed, a flood of emotions crashing over him in waves. The realization struck that the ghosts of his past were not merely lingering. They were woven into the fabric of his reality, needing to be confronted. He stepped closer, the weight of the lamp into an immovable anchor for his fear. Resolving to stay rooted in this moment, he shook off the lingering traces of doubt. Here, the possibility of vulnerability translated into strength, a chance to reclaim his narrative. But before he could reach Jake, the two men from earlier interjected, faces set with malicious intent. This is your fault, Tom. The older man spat, stepping forward, fists clenched as shadows weighed heavy on them all. Everything comes back to you. Tom's resolve wavered momentarily as he steadied his breath. Everything he feared was coalescing, demanding a stand. The choice expanded before him like the road stretching into darkness. Would he confront this final reflection or let it slip away once more? The clock ticked, each moment layering tension upon tension. The whispers from the crowd built into a crescendo of noise, turning every heartbeat into a countdown to the inevitable. Tom, Sarah shouted, yanking him back into focus. What are you going to do? With Jake's life hanging by a thread, Tom felt his purpose crystallize into clarity. This was no longer just about confronting the past, it was about safeguarding the future he realized he had left to chance. Enough running, he declared, eyes glinting with determination. Let us finish this. But as he prepared to face both the physical embodiment of his fear and the emotional turmoil within, a shadow darkened the alley, a lurking figure watching from the edge, a new player whose implications shook the ground beneath him. What unseen challenges awaited in this unfolding chaos? As Tom stood at the precipice of confrontation, adrenaline coursed through him like a wildfire. The chaotic whispers swirled around him, a tempest of voices that blurred together. But there was one voice that stood out above the rest, Jake's, weak and faltering, calling his name from the shadows of the wreckage. Tom, it sliced through the noise, a plea laden with desperation. In that instant, clarity seized Tom's thoughts. The reality of the moment condensed. It was not merely about facing external adversaries, but about summoning the courage to break the chains of his own past. He glanced at Jake, weakness etched across his brother's face, and felt a renewed sense of purpose surge within him. He had spent too long tethered to fear and regret. It was time to acknowledge the messy, unpredictable nature of their shared history. Stay back, he warned the men, planting himself between the danger and Jake. Positioned like a barricade, he drew strength from that role as protector, a role he had both craved and feared throughout his life. The men exchanged knowing glances, their smirks fading, replaced by a shadow of uncertainty. It was now or never. Let him go, Tom said, voice steadying as he took a step forward, a physical manifestation of his resolve to dismantle the threats in his path. You can try to blame me all you want, but this is not just about me. It's about our choices, your choices, and what comes next. The older man's eyes narrowed. You don't understand what's at stake, Tom. You're blinded by your own arrogance. Or maybe, Tom snapped back, heart pounding with new honesty. I'm done letting your twisted narrative dictate my life. With every word, Tom peeled back layers of self-doubt that had obscured his vision for far too long. Each confrontation with those men was more than a physical battle. It was a chance to confront the insecurity that had festered since his youth, the feeling that he could never live up to expectations not his own, and certainly not others. Jake needs my help, he shouted, pointing emphatically toward his brother. Let us not make this worse. The men shifted, their visible discomfort creating an opening. They had expected to intimidate a man scarred by his past. They hadn't anticipated a brother willing to stand fiercely in the light of hope. Next to him, Sarah's presence provided an anchor, her energy firing Tom's resolve. We're not doing this alone, she said firmly, standing shoulder to shoulder with him. This ends here. You have no power over us. Tom couldn't help but admire her determination, a reflection of the courage he had been looking to find within himself. Together, they transformed the fear that had once cloaked them into a shield, deflecting negativity and allowing their alliance of purpose to shine. Suddenly, the lurking figure at the edge of the alley stepped forward, breaking the tension. This isn't over, Tom, they rasped, voice deep and layered with ominous undertones. Tom's heart raced, realizing that this newcomer was no random spectator. The figure possessed an air of authority, someone who played a deeper game. The chilling realization stung. This situation was far from resolved. The battle was more expansive than he anticipated. And now, it had spiraled into an even murkier realm. Who are you? Tom demanded, steeling himself against the weight of uncertainty. The echo of his question bounced off the alley walls, reverberating throughout the air thick with tension as the figure stepped into the dim light. Their face obscured, a sickening sense of déjà vu washed over him. What had he pulled into their lives this time? I know things about your family, Tom, the figure said, voice laced with foreboding. And you'll have to look deeper than you've ever dared to. Eyes narrowing, Tom felt the walls begin to close in. With revelations on the horizon and the stakes escalating dangerously, the past had its hooks firmly driven into his present. What truths lay beneath the surface? What choices would he have to make? With a deep breath, as shadows began to churn around them, Tom braced for the avalanche of revelations ready to roll over him. In this moment of chaos, he understood one thing. The journey toward his personal redemption was only just beginning, and he had to stand firm against the storm brewing within. What he didn't know was who, or what would take shape from those shadows. The figure stepped fully into the light, revealing a face both familiar and haunting. Tom's breath hitched as recognition washed over him, a blend of shock and betrayal. The contours of the man's face were etched with lines of time and turmoil, but it was the eyes that held the weight of Tom's past. Eyes that had once looked at him with unyielding disappointment. Mark, Tom breathed, feeling as if the ground beneath him had warped. "Nice to see you've grown into such a brave little man," Mark replied, a sardonic smile tugging at his lips. The condescension cut deeper than any physical blow Tom had endured. Angry murmurs rippled through the gathered men, but Tom focused only on Mark, his mind racing to compute the implications of this unexpected reunion. "So you're the one behind all of this?" Tom's words came out sharper than he intended. "You think you can just return and dismantle everything we've built?" Mark took a step closer, reducing the distance but magnifying the tension. "You have no idea what's truly at stake here. Your family is entangled in something far more dangerous than you understand." The weight of the accusation settled heavily in the air, eluding easy interpretation. Reflection crashed over Tom like a tidal wave. He had tried so hard to separate himself from the remnants of his childhood, yet here was the living embodiment of that past, forcing him to confront the very notions of loyalty and betrayal that had haunted him for years. "Let us be honest, Tommy," Mark continued, his voice low and menacing. "You've always craved acceptance, and you're in way over your head. But your brother?" He gestured dismissively towards Jake's frail form. "He's got the key to everything. You're holding on to that hope, but trust me, it's futile." The mention of Jake flared a protective instinct in Tom, igniting a fire of defiance within. "Not like you," he retorted, his voice steady and unyielding. "I won't allow you to manipulate this situation any further." Behind him, he felt Sarah's hand squeeze his shoulder, and the solidarity ignited a sense of clarity. In this moment of confrontation, a revelation surged through Tom's mind, a clear understanding of his own strength. No longer was he simply a puppet caught in the strings of fate laid down by others. He had the power to choose how the narrative unfolded. "Every choice, every path has consequences. I won't let you dictate my story," he declared. Every syllable rang with newfound authority. Mark leaned forward, his grin broadening. "So you think you can play the hero? You're more tangled in this than you realize. Family blood runs thicker than water, and it makes for strange alliances." Confusion clouded Tom's mind, but there was a flicker of insight, the veins of his family history intertwined with darker secrets. Trust from blood could be both a bond and a curse. If Mark knew something, it was imperative he understood the implications more than being curious about the past. "Tell me what you mean," Tom demanded, the urgency of the situation crashing into him like a wave. "Let's just say, Jake might be the one in danger, but he also holds the key to unearthing something far more sinister." Each word dripped with enigmatic threats, yet beneath the surface was a sense of challenge that resonated within Tom as Tom stood at this crossroads of past and future, the air filled with an electric tension. He felt the implications of Mark's words hanging dangerously in the balance, a fragile tether to the choices he had yet to make. What did he really know about his family? What secrets had lay hidden, waiting for the right moment to unfold? Tom clenched his fists, his heart racing, the call to action echoing in his mind. With adrenaline fueling his dialogue, he demanded, "What do I need to do?" Mark's satisfied smirk was a taunt that stung, leaving Tom suspended on the precipice of revelation. Tiny embers of doubt ignited in the back of his mind. Had he just awakened something far more sinister? The next choice would change everything. Would it propel him toward the truth, or draw him deeper into the web of chaos? In that moment of clarity, Tom realized the storm brewing within him was only just beginning, and the roots of his family's past threatened to unravel everything he sought to protect. Tom stood before Mark, the embodiment of his unresolved past, as tensions mounted like an impending storm. Every fiber in his body grappled with the weight of revelations swirling around him. Mark's words hung in the air, a chilling reminder of what he had fought to escape. "Jake holds the key," Mark continued, his tone dripping with malice. "The stakes have never been higher, and you have to decide whose side you're on. It's time you choose." Tom felt Sarah's hand tighten on his shoulder, a tangible reminder of their newfound alliance, grounding him amidst the tumult. He could sense her unease woven into the charged atmosphere between them. "Whatever it is you think you want, I won't let you use my family as leverage," Tom declared, his voice steady, forged with determination. I am not the scared kid you used to manipulate. Mark scoffed. You think you've changed? You're still bound by the same blood that made you weak. The insinuation stung, but he refused to let it sway him. No longer would he be a marionette dancing to the strings of his childhood fears. As unsettling memories surged, clarity washed over him. He had spent years running from shadows, but now, he was ready to confront every flicker of darkness. I can't let you hurt Jake, Tom pressed, every fiber in him ignited by the protective instinct surging through his veins. As Mark stepped closer, Tom felt the mounting pressure of both past and future, a clash of wills hanging in the balance. He searched for a way to dismantle the cage Mark sought to construct, while also determining how to guard the future he yearned to build with Sarah and Jake. Strength S&T just in blood, Tom said, meeting Mark's gaze with unflinching resolve. It's in courage. The courage to stand up for what matters. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. You really think you can fight me? A derisive smile danced on Mark's features. It's a shame you're learning to be brave now. I always had hope you'd inherit something worthwhile, but you're nothing without my guidance. Tom stepped forward, their faces just inches apart. The distant voices of the crowd faded as time slowed to a standstill in that moment. I don't need your guidance. I have something much more powerful. People who matter. Mark's expression hardened, the arrogance receding momentarily as awareness sparked within him. He didn't expect Tom to rise with this ferocity. You think you're clever. But loyalty has a price, he warned, his voice a low rumble. I'm done paying dues for a past that doesn't serve me. Tom shot back, feeling the fire of confidence coursing through him. This is my life now, absolutely not yours to dictate. Among the chaos, the shadows of doubt began to dissipate as he felt a rush of clarity. He turned to Sarah, their eyes locking in an exchange of unvoiced support. The sense of purpose solidified, drifting away from the anxieties that had once chained him. Mark's expression twisted as unsettled fury flashed across his face. You're making a mistake. Maybe, Tom admitted, allowing the tension to thrum in the air. But sooner or later, you'll have to confront the reality that I'm not who you once knew. In that moment of defiance, everything crystallized. The decision manifested. This was not only about facing Mark. It was about dismantling every barrier he had clung to. Tom owed it to himself, to Jake, and to Sarah. They were the family he had chosen, not dictated by blood ties but bonded through resilience and unwavering trust. Let us go, Sarah. Let us handle this, Tom called, voice echoing with strength, as he turned to mark the transition of power. He took a step forward as the reality of their situation hung heavy in the air. Together, Sarah echoed, her voice steady as she reclaimed her own agency alongside him. The collective energy in the alley shifted. Mark's bravado wavered as he stepped back, eyes flaring with uncertainty, something he had never shown in their shared past. The power of unity blossomed between Tom and Sarah. With a newfound determination, Tom breathed deeply, feeling each inhalation fortify him, anchoring the resolve he had taken back. The shadows of his past moved closer, swirling with uncertainty, but he stood steady, knowing he had ultimately achieved the agency he had fought so hard to reclaim. Your reign ends here, he declared, each word dripping with conviction. Tom felt a sense of liberation flow through him. Mark hesitated, looking between Tom and Sarah, fueled by a mix of frustration and disbelief that the two could stand so boldly against him. Before he could respond, Tom and Sarah moved forward together, ready to face the impending storm. They forged ahead not just as individuals confronting their demons, but as a family rising against the odds. Each step they took marked irrevocable progress, overcoming fear, embracing the unknown, and facing the truth that had long haunted them. They had each chosen to grow through adversity, transforming from victims of circumstance into architects of their futures. And as they stepped into the chaos ahead, Tom understood they would dismantle every obstacle, bound by the unyielding courage that came from choosing each other in the face of fear. This moment was a testament to their strength. It was not just about confrontation. It was about claiming their narrative, turning pain into purpose, and proving to themselves that every scar was a badge of resilience forged through growth. Tomorrow might still be uncertain, but today, together, they had conquered the storms of yesterday, emerging stronger and ready to face whatever lay ahead. To seize this moment, they must move forward, no longer forced to run from their past but embracing the courage to shape their destiny. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending below. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share. Only true fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.